Hey everybody, I'm Stina, and welcome to my little punny creation station. So today I wanted to pop in because Santa over at Crafty Co asked if I would pop in and pull out some of this hollow sticker paper so that we can give our stickers a full holiday glow up. So I just wanted to point out that Crafty Co's brand new holo sticker paper, this stuff slayed my expectations. So I'm really excited to show you guys why. I also wanted to point out I donated two of my own punny designs to everyone who had gotten the Advent group, and they're going to be perfect for testing out this paper and just little side projects. So if you want to add them to your personal journals, if you want to add them to your pen cups, your pencil cups, random containers that just need a little pizzazz around your craft space or the office, I'll show you a lot of fun ways to work with this paper. So grab your cocoa, grab your tools, and let's slay this shine.
Okay, here we are in design space. I have the canvas set up for our project. If I wanted to add these from scratch, I would go over here to the left to the upload. Here's my existing images, but if I wanted to start from the very beginning, then I can just click add images. And then at this stage, I can just drag and drop straight into my images here, hit continue. The nice thing about this section is I can take all of these different types of file types. This one particular is a PNG. That's important because it can read negative and transparent space. If I did not have the background already removed here, I could use a tool and then click here straight in the design space. It'll remove any colors correlating with that space that I clicked on. Luckily, because this is a PNG, it already has that removed. I can double check by clicking the preview single layer. I can see the outline of the cut space. And then I have all these different options to pick from. But for this one particularly, we want to pick the flat graphic. That's one you want to pick for anything print then cut, because it's basically going to upload this image as is because we want all that pretty design and coloring that Britta put in there. And then from here, basically, once it's added into your canvas, then you can resize it by dragging around if you want. Make sure you're paying attention to your dimensions up here because there's this lock icon. You want to make sure that's locked. If you click it, it'll unlock it. And we want to make sure that this stays locked because we want these dimensions to stay the way that they naturally came. So I want to do a 3.75-inch sticker for the Joy design. So I'm just going to click straight into the box, change that. And then for the other two stickers with those little punny designs, we'll do a 2-inch sticker each because that was what you saw on the pencil cup at the beginning of the video. Because this hollow sticker paper is just so gorgeous, there's one extra little trick I'm going to do that I can add to these stickers to really highlight it. So I'm going to go over here to edit, and on the left side of the screen, I want to select the offset menu. I'm going to do it real thin, like 0.05 inches. And then I just want to make sure it stays with the round curve. As you can see, it does give me that nice gray offset in the background. That's just the perfect dimensions of our original cut sticker. One extra feature that I had already done on the original Joy file layer was I used the contour so I could actually click through the negative space of the O of the word. What that does is it basically adds it into the actual cut file. So the way that Cricut translates it, it just adds that background. And I do want to include that because that's going to show through on that hollow sticker paper. So I'm going to go back through here and I'm going to add the offsets to the other designs, and my settings will stay locked in to the exact same specifications as before. And then I really want to highlight, if we look here on the right hand side of the screen, notice how all of our offsets are also in a print then cut option, but we don't want them to do that function. We just want a basic cut. So I can shift click all three of those. I can all change them at once to the basic cut. And now we can see they are the exact operation we need those backgrounds to be. And then I just want to change them white. I want to change them white because I don't want them to have any color. I just want it to be that hollow sticker paper. The most important step we want to make sure is we're going to highlight each of our offset and correlating image one at a time, and we need to flatten them. It might look like the offset has disappeared, because as you click flatten, you'll notice there's a slight change to each image, but trust me, it is still there. So now we can go into make. We're gonna make probably 3 of each because look how beautifully it fills up one full sheet. So this is what your print then cut sheet will look like when you're on this pre-cut screen. So you can kind of see the layout of how it looks, how it automatically places each of your images. And you're not going to be able to see that white offset because it's going to match the actual canvas color of the printer. But you can see these red outlines here on the edges and corners. So be mindful of those corners when you're placing your images. And let's continue on into the next step, which is our print phase. Now, if you haven't already done so, please make sure you've already done your print and cut calibration. I have already done my calibration, so that pop-up I'm just going to skip, and now I'm going to hit send to printer. You want to pay attention to the sensor mark. There will be one on the top left with an arrow pointing up. So we'll note that for later. We're going to hit next, and then you want to make sure that you find your printer of choice. I have an Epson EcoTank 2800 that I use, and I'm going to select my network one because it is a Wi-Fi. Normally, in certain circumstances, you would want to add a bleed, but in this case, because we added the offset, I don't want the bleed on this, so I'm actually going to toggle the bleed off. But I do want to use the system dialog for the print. So I need to toggle this on, and you'll see very shortly why we need to do this because we want to operate directly from the settings within the printer, not necessarily Cricut directly. So now as soon as I click that, it's going to bring up that system dialog for the printer. Now, this is where it can get a little tricky because you want to actually use these special preferences because you want to specify a special type of paper for this. I already have a couple of settings already set up in this. Your system dialog for whatever printer you have should have a very similar type of setup. And for any particular project, you can actually change your paper type, you can change your quality. I always print on high with stickers and then I'll just select whatever correlating paper. Usually a photo paper or a premium paper is going to give you the best, highest quality print. And then you can actually save any settings that you want from previous projects for future projects. So in this case, I'm going to select the ultra glossy of this premium paper, and then we can go up and actually save our settings, especially for this sticker project. You do want to make sure that whatever you're specifying on this actual paper type, make note of that because your printer directly is going to need that input depending on the model. I know particularly with my Epson EcoTank is going to ask for the paper type because it wants to match. So this digital specification here on the system dialog will communicate that paper type to the physical printer unit. And if they don't match, it's not a dead end, it's just going to cause a little annoyance. But once I have everything set up, then I'll be able to hit print and now it's going to move into the printer side. So let's go over to the printer. Here is my Epson EcoTank 2800. I'm going to load the paper, the shiny side up in this particular model. And then remember when I mentioned that annoyance, that is what is here on the screen. It's complaining about a paper mismatch. This is that annoyance I had mentioned because of my system dialog, that paper type doesn't match the exact paper type that the Epson has set in its in-house settings. So I'm able to bypass it by just following the prompts on the screen. I'm going to hit OK to tell it to process, and it's going to give me one more screen. I'm going to hit yes to say, please proceed. And then it will begin its print and see how it starts to feed the paper through and it will start printing those images just as we saw on the screen just a few minutes ago. So let's swap back over to said screen and see what's going on there. All right, back in design space, we've done our verify print quality pop-up, and we're gonna go over to browse all materials to select the ideal cut settings for this. The top right will have a little search bar. So for this, I'm gonna use sticker because Crafty Co does specify the recommended cut setting for the Cricut as the printable sticker paper white with gray liner. So we're gonna look for that in the list. Click, we'll see the green check mark to select it. And I'm going to specify it one more time. Just make sure you're doing your test cuts, please. We all want great, pretty projects. Test cuts help. Okay, so now we're going to done this and our Cricut is set up to start cutting this. So let's head back over the desk and put our printed sheet onto the mat. Our sheet is printed and ready to go. Look how pretty and gorgeous this holographic paper is. The ink deposits you see are more of an issue with my print configurations and my printer ink than it has anything to do with this gorgeous paper. So I can just change that later in the settings. So now that our print is dry, let's get it down onto our mat. All right, this is the part where you want to make sure that that indicator arrow we had talked about earlier on the pre-print stage, at the top left, you want to make sure that arrow is pointing up when you're placing it into your Cricut sticky mat for your cut. That is a really important step because that is how the Cricut is going to be able to orient where the designs are and what exact cuts it needs to make. So it comes out exactly how we set it up and it comes out exactly how it looks on screen. So I really just place it gently onto my light stick Mac. I have a brayer tool, which is very helpful for me to make sure that I'm getting the material on there as flat as possible with as little air as possible, and it just helps enhance quality. All right, we have our print and cut sheet down on our sticky mat. We have it oriented appropriately, and we are ready to load it into the Cricut for our cut phase. Checking back in on Design Space. This is how the screen's going to look as the machine is scanning and detecting those lines. This is why it is important to make sure the page is on the sticky mat with that arrow pointing up. The lines are oriented correctly so that way your cuts come out correct. And once your cut's finished, it'll spit your mat out. One little trick I do quite often is instead of unloading it right away, I'm actually going to hit the play or cut button one more time and I'm going to let it execute the cuts a second time. You want to do this before you even unload the mat so that way everything lines up exactly as it is here on this exact project. And I do that because it will actually cut through the backing. So that way, when I peel all the materials off, it will actually pull each individual sticker up with the backing. And I do that a lot because I have a lot of stickers that I hand out. So that's a little pro tip that I'll use quite often. So that's a wrap on our holographic sticker fun. I absolutely loved working with this paper, and as you can see, these stickers found a happy new home on my own little notebook. It's just the perfect way to add some sparkle to my notes and really let Britta's artwork shine. I think the offset we added makes everything pop too, just like a good pun. So big thanks to Crafty Co for the awesome materials, and thank you all for sticking with me. So until next time, stay punny and keep crafting.